This is an indirect cause of headaches that you need to know about so that you can be free. Coming up next. Hey, Cat here at Free Body. You are in the headaches playlist, and this video is super crucial for you to have long-term relief of your headaches. We've talked about sternocleidomastoid. You learned that release of that muscle that causes #1 cause of headaches. The thing is, no muscle works in a vacuum. You're going to hear me say that over and over again on this channel. No muscle works on its own. No muscle works in a vacuum. Often the muscles that are causing our pain are the end of the tensional line. So what is pulling on the sternocleidomastoid? Well, there's a couple things. It might be the opposite side sternocleidomastoid. It might be that your head is kind of chronically turned to the left, pulling this left one long because the right one turns you to the left. That's an important piece of the puzzle. Do both sides, right? But then also, what I've seen a lot with my folks with chronic headaches is that the collarbones are pulled down. Now that can start just from slouching and bad posture. It can be one side gets pulled down lower because one hip is higher than the other. In either of those scenarios, the pecs get really short and they're pulling the collarbones down. That's important because the sternocleidomastoid attaches onto the collarbone. So when the collarbones get drawn forward because the pecs are tight or there's imbalance and the pecs get tighter one side, tighter than the other, the collarbones get off, they're pulling the sternocleidomastoid and it's going, and it's freaking out with tension, and then it's trying to pull everything back. But that little sternocleidomastoid is no match for the big Pec Major muscle that is attaching all along the collarbone on either side, all along the sternum. Sternocleidomastoid also attaches onto the sternum. So you've got pecs on the sternum here, on the clavicle here, sternocleidomastoid on the sternum here, on the clavicle here. They're in a little tug of war. So if you are releasing your sternocleidomastoid and the trigger points keep coming back, there must be some, what in the trigger point world is called perpetuating factors. Your perpetuating factors in this case are you slouching? Right? Are you rounding forward? Are you collapsing? Are you dropping your collarbones down? Are you hanging out more on one hip than the other, constantly dropping this collarbone down? Or are you folding your arms in front of you all the time, collapsing the chest, drawing the pecs short? And the pecs are big muscles. It is really going to benefit you for so many reasons, not just headaches, but it's also going to get rid of that maybe shoulder thing you've got, or that aching between your shoulder blades, all kinds of reasons to release the pecs. For your headaches, it is essential to give your pecs some loving attention, some great self-trigger point release every once in a while, maybe even a little bit before you're going to release your SCM, so that the SCM can release. If it's hanging out long and stuck because the pecs are pulling it down, you're going to be trying all day long to release that sternocleidomastoid, and it's not going to work too well, or it's just going to keep getting jacked up with tension over and over again. So if that's your experience and you want to know how to fix that, I'm about to show you. So here comes a video tutorial of a really effective way to release your pecs so that, and we give some good attention all along the bottom of the collarbone, so that the pecs can release, the collarbones can be more free, which essentially releases the whole shoulder girdle in such a beautiful, freeing way. And then the sternocleidomastoid is going to be ready for you to do that release. So we're going to link the sternocleidomastoid release in the description below, and give this a try first, and then drop me a comment. Let me know how much more effective your SCM release was after releasing the pecs. So let's get started on those. To release your Pec Major, you're gonna want a soft ball to start with. It's always best to start with a soft ball. And you may also want a yoga block to use against the wall, especially if you have larger breasts or more tissue, it's gonna help to bring the wall to you and to your pecs. Couple things about working at the wall. The closer you stand to the wall, the less pressure in the ball. The further you step away from the wall, the more your body weight sinks into the ball. So it's real easy to shift the pressure in the ball. We're gonna work right in what I call the valley of the shoulder, the place where the rib cage starts to curve down and the head of the humerus comes into the socket here. We're gonna get right in that place. We're gonna work right at the edge of Pec Major here, and then just kind of circling around the chest. So I'm gonna start on the right side, bring the block to the wall, and then bring the ball to the block. And then step in and then see how that feels. Do you wanna be like right here, or do you want to slide the ball down and lean in a little bit further with your body weight? So just start with some circles and some breathing, circling your body on the ball. That gives you some information. It's gonna help you start hydrating those tissues. Number one thing to begin with is hydrating the tissues. Tissues get dry, they can't release, they can't feel better. So just always starting some rolling with a soft ball, and then a little gentle rocking and rolling all around the area that you're gonna work. What that does, it starts to give you information. As all the protective tension in the tissue begins to release, you start to go, oh yeah, there's a special spot. Oh, that spot feels important. So we're circling all the way around, running along the collarbone. And then we're gonna work that edge of Pec Major. So you wanna get the ball right on the side. It's kind of this front flap of the armpit. That's your Pec Major. And we wanna go side to side on that. So just turning your body, getting that soft ball along there. You'll feel there's some tender spots in there. There's always some tender spots right in there. Has a strong pull, really brings that shoulder forward. So we wanna open that up. I found a tender spot, I'm gonna sink in. Now you have a couple options. When you're releasing your trigger points, you can just sink in and breathe, or you can sink in, breathe, and do a little bit of movement with the arms. You could slide your arm up and down the wall. You could even bring that arm kind of behind you a little bit. It's gonna make that point feel more exquisite. I'm gonna demo this on this back wall so you can really see that what I'm doing here. Sinking in, maybe bringing that arm behind you, doing some movement, pinning that point, breathing, relaxing your jaw. And then don't stay too long on a tender spot. Right? We're trying to gain the trust of the nervous system. So you don't want to stay too long or push too hard on a tender spot. Your nervous system isn't going to like that. It's going to start contracting that muscle. So just move the ball up a little higher. I'm right at this edge of Pec Major on my right side. And I'm gonna sink right into that upper edge. And I find a tender spot in there. So I'm just gonna take a few breaths here. Relaxing the body. Breaths to help the tenderness and the tension release out of your body. And then circling around again, moving. Better to do a little bit each day than to try to just hammer it out and try to get it all to release in one day. It's not gonna work. It's not the way it works. Now we're gonna get the ball right in this valley, right here, the valley of the shoulder. Just sink in there. You can start to use a firmer ball if you need. The soft ball's really plenty of pressure. And then I do like to pin that and move the arm up and down the wall. Sliding that hand up and down the wall while pinning that spot. I'm gonna show that on the back wall again one more time. Sinking into that valley and then sliding the arm up and down. Maybe even stretching behind. Might find yourself rocking a little bit. And start circling around that area. Great. And then last thing, we're just gonna kind of go up and down the center of the right side of the chest. Up and down the center of the right side of the chest. There's often a little line of tension right here. Going up and down. And I feel that I have a tender spot a little low there in my chest. So I'm gonna sink into it and take a couple of breaths. Sometimes there's so much protective tension around the trigger points that you actually have to do that soft rolling, sink in and see what happens. Like check some different parts in your chest and see if something kind of opens up, because there might be a lot of protective tension. It might just feel real bumpy. All right, let's take a break in between the two sides just to check and see how open the shoulders are and how open the chest is. So I'm gonna just kind of stretch my arms back. I don't know if you can really see that, but my right arm goes, I'm not making that up, that my right arm goes many inches back further than my left. Just that little short practice, my right arm is able to go back several inches further. I've already really shifted my whole shoulder girdle on that right side. So now we're gonna do a little bit on the left, grabbing the ball, grabbing the block, and then coming back to now the left side. Put the ball on the block. Again, you can just do it right on the wall, but see how it smashes my nose into the wall. So you just get a little bit more space, especially if you're having neck issues. It might be hard to kind of keep your neck pulled back. So using a block or a box, really give a little bit more space for your face. And circling, rocking. This first part is about hydration, getting more fluids in the tissue, getting those layers of tissues unstuck, opening the pecs from really being adhered to the rib cage, and freeing the whole shoulder girdle. And start noticing, where are your tender spots? Breathing, circling around. So now we're going to go to that edge of the pecs. I'm just going to move my arm out of the way so you can see a little better. Going to that edge, Pec Major, kind of clunk clunk, feels a bit like a speed bump. Then I get right into that area. Oh yeah, that's tender. So I'm just gonna sink and breathe. Really grateful that I have a soft ball right now and not mashing into that tenderness with too firm or too hard of a ball. Please don't use a lacrosse ball in your body. Your body does not like that. That does not woo your nervous system at all. And so we can drop a link to that video, why to not use a lacrosse ball. That's a good one to check out because it really is not welcome in your soft tissues. So now I'm gonna move up a little bit and go side to side. I'm just feeling into that edge of Pec Major. Freeing this edge really helps the pecs to totally soften. So I come in, I feel into that tender spot right there. Ah, yeah. Remembering you can do some movement. You can twist a little to find just the right angle. Make sure you're getting just the right spot. Maybe the arm opens back behind you. It's gonna make it more exciting in that spot right there. Just staying a few breaths. Okay. And then we're gonna go right up into that corner, that valley of the shoulder where the humerus and the rib cage come together. It's real thick here. The upper section of Pec Major is along here. The clavicular head of Pec Major is along here. So we want to get right into that valley. And sinking in. What's deep to this is also Pec Minor, so you're starting to kind of warm up Pec Minor area because you're going to want to release that next. It feels so good to sink in, and then doing a little bit of movement. I'm going to come back to this back wall again. Right up, I can feel the ball kind of pressing into the top of the humerus. And I'm just sliding my arm up and down, opening back, sinking in. You can lean back even more, get a little deeper in that valley, stepping back, leaning your body forward a little more, if your body allows. We're not looking for this to hurt a whole lot. You'll find if it doesn't hurt, your body actually responds better. So just noticing where your tenderness is, being real sweet with it. All right. And we're gonna go back to just kind of circling around. Make sure you roll along the bottom of the collarbone. Circling around that left side of the pecs. And then finding that center line of the pecs and just going up and down. I like to turn my block this way so the ball doesn't roll off. And up and down. There we go, up and down, right in the center of the left side of the chest, up to the collarbone. Notice I just kind of move the ball around. I'm really going up and down that center line of the chest. And I find that there's a little spot right in there. I'm gonna sink in and just take a few breaths. You might want to wiggle a little, breathe in your belly. That feels better already. Great. Nice. So we're gonna put our tools down, and then I'm gonna go back and just kind of check. Does my left arm now open back as much as my right? Yes, it does. Both arms now are moving back, I'd say 6-8 inches further than they were before, which is great.